Hello, everybody. Phil Blazek here, cover artist for a new game we got coming out by Axiom Systems. It is Upper Hand Wrestling, a card-based wrestling RPG. I was excited to talk about it, and I figured who better to bring in to join me than the lead game designer himself, Zachary. Oh, come on.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Please stop.
What's the matter, jabroni? Don't you want to hear about the Rock's new game? And after the Rock took time off from filming Hobbs and Shaw 6, the Jumanji, to be here to promote the people's game. It doesn't matter if you want to hear about the Rock's new game or not. Upper Hand is a fast-paced, card-based system that allows you to feel the moment-to-moment action, heart-pound action of having your Rudy Poo candy ass slapped around the ring from post to damn post to damn post. And with the all-play system, every player who plays can experience the game from both sides, game master and player.
I draw a picture. You ask me to come in and help you to do these ads, and this is what I get.
You know what you could do with that picture?
Dumb.
Dying?
I am ill.
Oh no, man. What are you doing on the podcast? You could have told me ahead of time. I would have done something.
It was one of the things, I woke up this morning, last night I went to bed, I'm like, man, I'm really not feeling good. And I woke up for work this morning. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fucking sick. So I went to work and I got there before everybody else. I just kind of passed out in my car waiting for the manager to show up. And he showed up. He's like, hey man, are you okay? I'm like, as okay as I can be. And I started coughing and hacking everywhere. And he's like, hey, how about you just go home? I was like, yeah, I think I might do that.
Just on a side note, how awesome is it to be working in an industry like the restaurant industry, and it's a place that you serve food, would have made you work a fucking 8-hour shift.
Yeah.
It's so nice to be in a place where it's like, you're sick, just go home, man,
Yeah, it very much was a breath of fresh air. And this is how sort of broken I am in regard to that sort of stuff still. So
man, I'm sorry, man. You didn't have to do the show. You really didn't.
Well, it was a last minute thing. I'm I'm not gonna try to fucking last second try to find go somewhere.
I mean, if you're sick, it's another thing. I know I yell at you a lot, but it's usually because you don't tell me about a thing you had planned. If you're sick, man, you can tell me, and it's fine.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. You, dear listener, have decided for whatever reason to tune into another Horrible Gaming Podcast. I am not alone, nor am I ever alone. Well, mostly. With me is
Neil, a.k.a. a very ill wizard.
Neil's trying to make up for every other time I've been pissed at him for not being able to be here by, powering through illness, ladies and gentlemen. So you have to excuse him. He's definitely he's showing up today. That's for sure.
At least physically.
You don't have to, man. Sickness trumps. Right. It's not worth it. But yeah, so please excuse Neil's hacking. He is sick, and we might go short today. We do have quite a bit to talk about, but we might refine it to get Neil out of here faster. So with that, let's get right to the credits. Behind our ugly mugs is a fancy custom picture that is designed by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And then, of course, the theme song for this show and all of the shows here at Old Man Gaming are provided by the man who makes the music, my brother, Nick Van Sliders, and we thank him for that. Just a quick disclaimer, if you are one of the people who are signed on because of the narrations I have been doing for Wizard's Respite, we have been doing a few TTRPG things, but this is primarily a game channel where we say fuck a lot. If you don't like that, please stick around and just listen to the narrations. We would appreciate that. We also do.
I thought you were just gonna say, "Please stick around." Just like suffer through the fuck.
Well, look. I mean, if this seems any way interesting to you, we'd love it if you watch this too. But it's all the ball's in your court. I'm just saying that we are going to continue to do those narrations. We do have an actual play show for UHW, a TTRPG about wrestling, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, stick around for that. Other than that. This is a gaming podcast where we get mad at everything we love. So, we will be right back with Fanteraction and then more anger at things we love.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our first segment, our most important segment, that is Fanteraction. That's where we, the co-hosts, talk to you guys, the fans. We read out your comments and all the places you put them. So let's get into it. Ooh. Sorry about that, everybody. I accidentally moved the picture. Did not mean to do that. All recording. Okay. So first of all, we got a post from Bloody Nose. Thank you for the comment, Bloody Nose. He actually, once again, timestamp tagged 2050. People are so fast to jump to conclusion. SMH... obviously the game is still being worked on. He is talking about, I checked it out, he is talking about specifically when we were speaking about everybody kind of being crazy about GTA 6 in the state it's in on the leaks. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to think that it would be in any sort of good condition at this point. Although... in some ways, it's not, considering the fact that GTA 5 came out 10 years ago. So, in some ways, you would think it would be a lot further along. But Rockstar is the way Rockstar is. And, yeah, it's just not, it's not working out. It's not that far along. Jason, we're in a post-cyberpunk world. Laughing face. Post-cyberpunk is an evolution of the cyberpunk genre. It's less pessimistic, not as dark and edgy, tends more toward the idea that the world is actually probably going to be about the same, just with neater tech. Government and corporations ain't evil, they're just collections of people who are actually good people, maybe even anti-heroic. Parentheses, yes, I know what you meant. It just struck me as funny. I was speaking directly about post-cyberpunk being post-cyberpunk the game and what that is in the gaming world afterwards. But funny observation, Jason. Thank you as always.
And weirdly, too, since the anime has debuted on Netflix, there's been this crazy resurgence.
Huge
of the game,
surge.
too.
They're back up to 20 million. I was talking with a friend online the other day while I was playing an undisclosed game. And basically we were talking about it, and it got into a big thing because they were like, yeah, it's not so bad. I'm like, how are you forgetting? How are you just because it's not bad now? They lied to us all. My problem was never even really the state of the game. My problem was what they told us versus what we got vis-a-vis their response then to our outrage at that. Vis-a-vis, where the fuck is my check? I want a refund, you cocksuckers. And again, anybody who has joined us via TTRPG community, it's the kind of swearing you can come to get to know here.
I just don't know why they didn't make exceptions for the refunds, like with Steam and everything. Yeah. Anyone else, you can... Yeah. It didn't matter how much you could play. You know, you played whatever. But with the Steam purchase, it was just very rigid like everything else. Like, what's the point? at that point, and even saying you're going to take refunds from the Steam version.
I mean,
everyone and their mother knows they're already beyond that point. Unless they bought it and didn't play it.
I'm having flashbacks, but there's a 2-hour limit. 2-hour limit, ladies and gentlemen, to get a refund on Steam. If you pass 2 hours of playtime, you don't get it back. Cyberpunk has 2 hours of fucking cutscenes in the beginning. There's no way you cannot break 2 hours and not know you don't like that game. That game, they just lied. They lied about the player choice. They lied about how you can handle situations. They lied about... I was talking to this guy. It was Asylum 66, actually. I'm gonna give him credit on this one. He actually said a really good line about it. He was like, they promised you a pen and paper RPG in game form, and you just got an RPG that was a game. And I thought that was a great correlation. They promised you the freedom of that kind of thing. Like this game is gonna game master a game tailor made to any character you make. That's what they advertised, and they did not deliver on that. Not by a long shot. Okay, so I don't know. I had a lot of problems with Cyberpunk. But yeah, it has had a resurgence, and I'm kind of bummed about that because CD Projekt Red got away scot-free from the whole fucking thing, and now they're making a ton of money, and in fucking 5 years, this game's gonna be revered again. And that's annoying. Have you seen the footage going around about somebody like kind of hacked the game to put it in third person? And then they had like they screen captured what it looks like, because there's a character for everybody out there. There's a character model in a game behind the camera in first person. There's always one, so that because they need to hitbox your character for getting hit and whatnot. So there's always, even though you can't see the character straight up in game, there's always a character model in there. But everybody's like, we wanted it third person. Why wasn't it third person? Somebody's like, this is why it's not in third person. They showed it, and it's just this insane animation when they're swinging a sword where the like shoulder is going through their face and shit. Obviously, it's a broken fucking game that they put like band-aids on. I'm getting on a Cyberpunk rant. We need to move on. Then we have William Hohen. Hi! Exclamation point. Man, sounds like you both feel like shit. Well, I'm better. Got a different medication, so not pooping myself constantly.
That's good.
On the GTA leak, there's so many leaks and early access nowadays that games are all figured out with guides before they even release. Wish we had more surprises in games. It's hard to avoid being spoiled. Some people even put spoilers in their YouTube videos thumbnails. Yeah, that's
dickish.
That's real a big dickish problem in wrestling. Big problem in wrestling. If I don't watch a wrestling show right when it happens, I better stay the fuck off Twitter and YouTube. Companies don't care at all about game preservation. It's more like, don't ask questions, just consume the product, and then get excited for next product. It's a tragedy, really. Thanks for the show. # Subway is fast food. It is not fast food. It's delicatessen.
Subway is fast food.
It's not fast food, guys. It's not fast food. There's no drive-through. Anybody who has been to a Subway, it is not fast. There's nothing fast about fucking Subway. It's garbage food that takes fucking forever.
What about Chipotle and Hothead? Is that fast food?
I don't know what Hothead is, but Chipotle is not fast food.
Hothead burritos?
Chipotle is not fast food.
It's Chipotle, but superior.
It's not fast food. Fast food is like under a heat lamp for like 10 minutes. People pre-cook it and they throw it at you.
By that logic, Taco Bell's not fast food.
Taco Bell is 100% fast food because it's all in heat stuff. I cooked the shit. Man. It's all in a fucking steam table. They just slop it on a shell and wrap it in a thing and throw it out the window at you.
That's exactly what they do at Chipotle.
I watch them cook the steak. Do you want to know how I cook the steak at Chipotle? At fucking Taco Bell? It's in a bag in a fucking boiling pot. It's fast food, man. There's a big difference between Taco Bell and Chipotle. I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. This is a silly argument.
Five Guys?
Five Guys is not fast food. No. It's
Five
burger
Guys is
joint.
100% fast.
Not even close to fast food. They cook it right in front of you on a grill. You watch them cook it. There's nothing
comment,
fast about it.
Subscribe. His Five Guys fast food.
You motherfuckers can all day long. It's not fast food. Okay. But aside from the fast food thing, we got to get back to the other part of his comment. Don't ask questions. That is a problem. That's a problem for games. And that's something we mentioned last week. If gaming wants to be accepted as an art form, which it needs to be, if it is ever going to be respected, if it is ever going to be looked at in a proper manner, then it needs to not have a consume product move on. Because you know what consume product move on means? You're an energy drink. I don't want to think of my games as an energy drink. Like, that's the kind of stuff that gaming needs to get away from. And they need to find some way to preserve these fucking things. And William Hoolan is 100% right. There isn't any emphasis on game preservation. That's a real problem, ladies and gentlemen. It is. Because even the most games as service is still a work of art. People worked on it. They drew pictures for it. They worked on animations and assets for it. They did programming for it to make it interact with each other. It is a form of art, and if we are not finding a way to preserve these things for future generations, it just means we didn't value it as a culture and as a society. As a person who loves games and values them above movies, I don't like that. I don't like the fact that there is no way to pass these things on. There's no way to look at these things. There's no way to replay these things.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like there's preservation for all these other forms of art. Now, of course, there is an argument still going around as are video games art. You and I fall on the same side of this, though, that I do believe that they are. You believe that they are.
Yep.
Usually games are handcrafted or at least have, an idea and a design and is presented to somebody to feel something or experience something one way or another, much like you would art in a museum. You see it there, it's supposed to make you feel a certain way or convey a specific message. But at the end of the day, whenever something goes offline, it's nothing but ones and zeros on a reflective disc, or literally ones and zeros on a hard drive that won't do anything when you access it.
And that's 100% right. You get these games, like the most games as servicey games too, like Fortnite, Call of Duty. Yeah, there's no story behind them, but there is a developer behind each and every one of those designs who is trying to make it look cool and engaging, who is creating art for you to view, even when it's at the top level, when it's CEOs like making the game purely to make money, purely to do microtransactions. There's someone down there who is like, I'm making this model look as cool as I possibly can. I'm making this thing so that people will enjoy it. That in itself needs to be preserved, I think there's art in the most corporate versions of games. Like every game has art in it that is valuable to people, that people pour hard work into, and we're treating that, we're not valuing them as a society. If we don't value them as a society, they're never going to be considered art. It's never going to reach that higher plane. It's always just going to be a throwaway toy, and that bothers me. Yes, and I know we're in agreement on that. That is basically all the Fanteraction. Jason had posted something to Discord that I definitely want to point out as well. But it's actually going to go into our talking point, so I'm going to save it for that. And if you're wondering what our talking point is...
You don't know anything about this channel. You are new. That's what it is. You're new here, and that's okay.
We're going to do a two-part talking point. One, we're going to cover the Skull and Bones delay, the surprise delay, and then the ceremonious destruction of Stadia.
Unceremonious.
And the wake that it leaves behind it. I warned them. I warned them all. Okay. We warned them all. We warned them all. We warned them all. All right, we'll be right back with us telling everybody how we were right.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our talking points. So we got 2 of them today because they're smaller, but they're bigger than odds and ends, so we kind of wanted to mesh them together. We're going to start with this one because this is my baby. Skull and Bones got a surprise delay. 1 month before it was supposed to come out, they decided to delay it, and they delay, and it is a mega delay too. It is not like, oh, we need another month. 6 months, half a year. It is not coming out now until March 9th of 2023. I have some thoughts about this delay that I'm going to try not to reveal things. But
Zach, you're acting like you're not allowed to talk about something.
I may or may not be under an NDA because I may or may not be involved in an insider program that may or may not be going on with something we may or may not be talking about right now. I don't know if what I just said covers me from lawsuit, but that being said, I may or may not know.
Talking about.
I may or may not know a little bit more information about this game than other people do. I have a very, very scary theory about Skull and Bones and what they're doing with it. I think so. Okay, Skull and Bones gets announced, right? Like basically, its full announce was like what 4 or 5 months ago, and they were like it's coming out in November. That's when it's coming out. We wanted a quick announce from, well, not announce, but you know what I mean, like the long, because we've known they've been working on it since 2017. They show a bunch of trailers. I really liked it. The rest of the world didn't, and the rest of the world kind of went stupid on this, in my opinion. And here's why. This game, originally in 2017, at the first E3, was announced as a 5v5 pirate ship deathmatch game. It was going to be online. It was going to be kind of like a multiplayer version of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And basically, you would have 2 teams of 5 in ships, and you would fight each other, like, in just the ships. That's it. That's what it was announced as. That's what this game was in 2017. Then it got delayed. Then Ubisoft said, no, it's going to be an open world. No, you're going to be able to do other stuff. And then people got excited, and then it just vanished. Vanished from thoughts and minds for many years, with the exception of every once in a while, a higher up in Ubisoft would be like, we're still working on it. Okay, bye now. Then it gets the big trailers. Like, it got a leak, of course, because Ubisoft always does that. It got a leak, and I even kind of predicted a lot of this, with the exception of this delay. It got a leak, then I was like, they're going to announce it and release it this year. It got announced, and then they set it for November. In the announcement trailer, there was a lot of ship combat. People quickly realized there is no actual third-person combat, like captain to captain, crew to crew, anything like that. It is PvP and PvE. The boarding is like a special move that you do, and then there's an animation, and you take the other ship's loot. Like, that's it. You can go on stuff. There is third-person exploration elements, but there's no third-person combat. No sneaking onto boats, none of that. No Sea of Thieves stuff here. It is mostly ship combat. Ship combat is the front and center combat. And the fucking internet exploded. They were like, how do you take this long and not put third-person combat in it? Which I thought was actually a little unfair. Not to stick up for Ubisoft because they're a shitty company, but overall, they never said it was going to have third-person combat. They never even alluded to third-person combat. It started as a ship v ship game. They turned it into an open-world game. And they never said in the trailer that there was going to be third-person combat. The world just got really mad at them. Since then, we got a couple more trailers. A lot of them seemed damage control-y, like almost like they were bringing people out to say how fun this game is, even though there's not third-person combat in it. Then all of a sudden, but they were still pushing it hard. This was literally their only AAA release, I think, in all of 2022 for Ubisoft. Like there's no other AAA games that came out for that company, to my knowledge. I could be mistaken. I could be missing one, but I don't think so. I think everything came out late 2021, and there's been nothing from that company this year. I know Roller Champions came. It was a free-to-play game, which is getting not so great reception. A couple other indies, but no AAA deliveries. Then they do this delay, right? This delay is 6 months out. So you're thinking this game is almost done, and now they're doing a full 6-month delay. I really feel like they might be thinking of trying to add third-person combat just because of the backlash they got. I think that would be a huge mistake for this game. There's a couple of reasons that I think this. And I'm sorry I'm still talking, Neil, but...
Oh, you're okay.
Let me just wear myself out. Number one, ship-to-ship boarding is a logistical nightmare in a PvP situation. When you're boarding somebody else and then all of your crew starts fighting their crew, what happens with all the ships around you? Can they just run up and shoot you and take you out? Can they also board? What happens if they board? Or do you enter this bubble of boarding where once you're boarded, nobody can attack you? But if they did that, then if you're partied up with somebody, you could just unparty with them and then board each other and not attack each other until somebody who was chasing you went away. Like it would be an ultimate shield or something. There's just so many logistical issues with that. There's also technical issues. A lot of people are like, Sea of Thieves does it. Sea of Thieves has 15, 20 player person servers, okay? But those are one character. They have no NPCs on the boats. They have no NPCs really on land. There's like one or two shop owners, but there's no like walking around people. Everything, it's very desolate as far as NPCs go, and all the ships have only player characters on them. Skull and Bones has 20 player controlled ships on a server at a time. Technically, the idea of like just having 2 of those ships with 20-person NPC things slamming into each other the whole time, technically the server would get too bogged down. It wouldn't be able to run it. I think that like there's a lot of technical issues with this. There's a lot of problems with this on the whole, and I think that adding third-person combat is a bad idea, because if you then decide just to add third-person combat on, say, the islands or like while exploring and stuff, that's a mistake, because when you do that, everybody's going to get pissed that you don't do it on the ships, because that's where they want to do it. I think they should just stick to their guns on this. I think they should just stick to their guns, release the thing in November, and be like, look, we never said there was third-party game combat. Hopefully you guys like it. We have a lot of stuff coming your way, you know? All right, I'm done.
So I did look real quick to see what Ubisoft has this year.
Oh, okay.
It's not a lot.
Yeah, no AAAs, right?
I mean, kind of ish. That Mario and Rabbids game.
Oh yeah,
and Just Dance 23. That's really about
Just Dance is really on the edge. I know that's a money maker for them.
No, it's really on the edge.
Really on the edge.
I mean, you have like expansions and like collections.
And they announced a ton of games coming in the future, but they definitely didn't release anything this year.
Rainbow Six Extraction is the only other
still
one
not really a AAA though, right? Like you wouldn't call that a AAA. I wouldn't call that a AAA.
And to speak to your point, but coming at it from a different angle, I do agree that they should have kind of kept it with what it was, but only really just because let's be real at this point. The amount of time, money, effort that they've put into this game, you're trying to make absolute perfection, but every single time you extend it out, it just adds to the cost. Is this game really gonna be that good to make back all of the money from the prior years? I mean, sure, you can go ahead and throw all the loot boxes and microtransactions you want. You better hope you're netting a couple whales, because outside of that, I don't think that there's going to be enough push behind it unless they make it a free-to-play game that they're going to get their money back out of it.
And they've already said it's going to be a premium $70 title with a cash store, so you're already taking bad press there. But that's Ubisoft 101, and their capitalist bullshit. The thing is too, is let's say the 6-month delay is there for something else, right? Okay, now you gone another 6 months. What are all those people that said that you should have had third person in the first place? What are they going to say now when you do it again? You're not going to gain any favor back from those people.
Right.
The only thing you can do is one of two things. You try and put third person in it and you really fail and then it fucks everything up, or you release it and you just cleaned things up and everybody who's already mad at you for that is just even more mad because they just assumed you were going to put it in. I think that, like, there has to be a level of, like, look, you made a game. This was your vision. This was your idea. It's done. Release it and hope you got people. I feel like Ubisoft is trying to, like, put too many eggs in this basket. And because of that, they just keep taking the basket. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's going to get to have the eggs. This analogy has gone downhill, but you see what I'm saying? Like it's like they just keep taking it away. It's like, well, the game's still not out, you know? I don't know. I think this was a mistake, one way or another. I mean, unless the game is really messed up, and I'm going to say this again. I have a staunch policy on delays on whether or not I'm mad at them. Neil knows it by heart at this point. If you can give me a date, you better know that you can release the game by that date. Unless there is a fire or a natural disaster, you don't give me a date until you know you can give it to me. You're basically giving an oral contract to people, especially when you put it up for pre-order, which it's been up for pre-order for the last 2 months. And now you've delayed that game for another 6 months. That's bullshit, man. The thing is if you don't have it done, like, I would be way more pissed at them if they're just trying to clean it up. If they're like, oh, it's just not ready. Okay, then you should have never given us a date. Which is something that I was always mad at Cyberpunk. People would always be like, oh, I'm happy with the delay. I want the best game. No. You should still be mad because they told you it was coming out and they failed to deliver. You know? Like, I'm sorry. Like, don't tell me you can bring it out until you can bring it out. It's that simple. The game should be in the can by the time you're giving me a date.
I think they're just trying to cram some other feature.
I do
think
too.
That's really what it is.
I do too.
Because if it was functionality of the game itself, if you were in one of the beta tests or anything like that, you would have seen
or an insider's program
or an insider's program or something like that. You would have seen that.
Yeah, something like that. You definitely seen something like that. You definitely wouldn't be playing it in the insider's program and have it be functionally pretty solid with a few bumps along the way. But I mean, you would expect bumps 2 months from its release. You know, you don't expect bumps 6 months from its release. I don't know. I think that, I think it's a mistake. I think whatever they're doing is a mistake because they're either going to not add enough they're not going to add enough. They're either going to not add enough or break it in the process, you know? All right. You want to get to the main big talking point now before I get sued?
Yeah.
Stadia. We have been staunchly against Stadia, and we have been warning people about Stadia since its inception, really. Mainly for its pricing guide. That was my biggest problem with it. And the real reason it's dead, if you're asking me, but it is dead. They have announced that they will be shutting down the service in 2023, which has caused all sorts of backlash and all sorts of different things to go off. One thing that they have said is anybody who bought into the service will be receiving refunds, I believe, for both their games and their service. I don't think they're getting their subscription fee back, but any games that they purchased.
Games and hardware.
And hardware, right. Which is good. I like that. That's step one. There is a lot of problems with this, though. But first, I want to let you speak on the other stuff.
Honestly, the news didn't surprise me when it came out. It was just more of an eventuality.
I was surprised it took this long.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised it took this long too, especially after the news that came out. It was a couple months ago that they planned on using the technology for other things in the future. To they're it wasn't exactly sunsetting the service, but oh, we got plans for the tech, don't you worry, which is if you're not going to run the service, then why do you have plans for the technology?
Right.
But honestly, this is the best way they could have done this, in giving people refunds and stuff like that. But I mean, there are some weird sorts of outlying issues. And there's somebody, I remember seeing an article earlier, somebody had put over 1,000 hours or something like that into Red Dead.
This is actually the Jason post that I was going to bring up. He posted it. Somebody actually put nearly 6,000 hours in Red Dead Online, which there is no save transfer for online games. There's save transfers for local games, such as, Red Dead Redemption and stuff, but no save transfers for Red Dead Online. This guy has just put tons of money and effort into this game, and Rockstar has no solution. Nobody has any solution for what's going to happen. This game he's just going to get shut down, and that'll be it. There's a couple of companies now, Ubisoft and 2 others are actually trying to work on a way to transfer their game save files over, because this has stranded a lot of players. Anybody who did buy onto Stadia is stuck in this zone of their save game. Everything goes bye-bye when the service shuts down, which brings me to the I told you so. I hate to do this. But both me and Neil said, look, man, if this service doesn't work, you don't get any of that stuff.
It's a miracle you're getting refunds for hardware and games, is it?
I'm surprised they're getting refunds.
Yes.
I will say I'm happy they are, but I'm surprised they are. I mean, and really, the big reason Stadia is dead is this practice where they were you're not even okay. First of all, just to hammer this home, you don't own any of your games. Any of them. Even the physical ones that you have in your possession. You bring them home, they require a day one patch, which if the service decides not to give it to you, your game is a big paperweight that you bought for $60. So people out there with the illusion of physical games is yours, they're not. None of these games are yours. The people who make them now control whether you play them or not based on their services being around and giving them constant updates. That's just how it works. However, that being said, you actually have some illusion of it being yours. When I download something from Steam, it goes on to my hard drive. I also have local save files on that. So I can actually slightly play that game offline as long as I've got the most recent updates and stuff and it's not an online required game. When you bought a game from Stadia, you did not buy a game. You bought a license to play that game on their servers. That's what you bought. And you bought it for full price. Okay? And while you can make the argument that Steam, Epic, even physical copies basically are the same thing, they're not, because there is still some functionality and there is still some ownership to it. Plus, the services that you're buying them off are established. Now, if you're buying a physical copy, yes, you need that day one thing. And if the company goes under by the time you buy it and get it home, you're not going to get that day one, and that might be bad. But basically, the person providing that day one thing is your console. The console isn't going to go over right off the bat. Xbox and PlayStation, they're established. Same with Steam. Even Epic Store, they're established marketplaces that have been around for a while. So they're not just going to evaporate into thin air. Stadia was brand new. They straight up told you were paying full price for the game. They also told you that you could not play it locally, period. Which was an interesting concept. But it should have been a subscription fee. We've talked about this multiple times. It should have been like a Game Pass thing. It should have been like, here's a subscription fee. Here's the games we have to offer you. You can play them anywhere. Stadia would be around to this day. It still would, in my opinion. It's the fact that people were like, wait, we have to pay full price for it. We don't even get to download it. Like, it's just in the cloud. Yeah, you paid for a license to play it on their service. And there has to be a level of like, what did you think was going to happen with this? Especially when it immediately didn't sell. Like, Stadia was a failure from jump. From, like, minute fucking one, Stadia was a failure. No one was into it. No one wanted it. Like, the ads only ran for a week. Like, and again, I feel for these people. Anybody who bought it, we're excited about it. I've definitely bought games that I regretted, and it sucks. But at the same time, man, should have never got into Stadia. Stadia was a mistake.
You know what I'm really wondering?
What?
I'm really wondering if, in typical Google Stadia fashion, they're going to fuck some aspect of this up. And I'm really wondering if it's going to be what I took advantage of. If you remember correctly, I got a Chromecast Ultra and a controller, like $125 package. Right. For free.
Right.
I almost wonder if they're going to give me a refund.
Oh, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Just free Google money.
Yeah.
Free Google money. Here's your $125. Thanks.
Yeah.
I definitely spent money for this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is like, to be completely honest, the best thing I got out of Google Stadia was the Chromecast Ultra that I have hooked up to the TV right now. Mm-hmm. It was a service that relied too heavily on tech.
Yep.
And it was not a good implementation of it. I mean, we have things now like Project xCloud, you know, from the Xbox side of things. They have multiple different peripherals for gaming on your phone.
Yep.
I mean, my Razer Kishi, I played Halo multiplayer on it. Mm-hmm. Now, was it a seamless experience? Absolutely not, because in the area I live, I don't have the infrastructure to be able to, you know, go through those high demand data loads.
Right.
But when it did work and worked as it was intended, it almost played better than on console. And sometimes I think it was getting like 120 frames per second randomly in the middle of Halo 5 multiplayer matches when I was really using that Kishi. It's just a night and day between them. You know,
and the thing is with xCloud is, the other thing is xCloud is a service that's built onto established foundation. Like, xCloud is something you get if you're an Ultimate member, and it allows you to play the games you already own in other places or Game Pass games. It's not something that you have to then buy games on. It's a feature. It's a feature that's added to the service that you already have. It's not a system onto itself. And that's a big problem with Stadia, is they relied wholly on the system onto itself, and they relied on it. It was weird. It was like they were like, this is the future of gaming, which in some ways it is, but they decided to do it like an old school console, like pricing and marketing wise, and that was a mistake.
Yeah. And that's actually what I was about to say. Is,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're okay. Is Microsoft for years had been testing this technology, and even still, as it stands right now, it's technically in like a sort of beta service.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Hey, sorry if it didn't work." Like, I haven't, because I've upgraded my phone. My Kishi doesn't work anymore, so I haven't really. My Kishi doesn't work on my new phone, so I haven't really been on it lately. But one thing that it would always do whenever you X out of the game, it would give you a little survey like, "Hey, is this working all right? Did this work out okay for you?" And then you have Google, where it basically was like, "Hey guys, you know what? We're fucking Google, goddammit, and we're just gonna do this thing. If you guys can do it, so can we. We're the technology people."
Yeah.
And the implementation was horrendous.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't get that Stadia controller to pair to my PC. I couldn't get it to pair to anything. I had to hardline connect that controller with a USB-C cable into my phone, and even still with that, there was a good 1 to 2 full second delay in anything that I did, just trying to play Celeste for shit's sake.
Right. Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. It was a bit ridiculous how they did it, how they implemented it, and they definitely they half-assed and did a lot of things the wrong way, without a doubt.
And that's the one thing. It's like, out of all of this story, in the end, the fact that they're going to give people refunds. I mean, I think they knew. I think that they knew. It would not. They would never hear the end of it if they didn't. But
they're still never going to hear the end of it. That at least lessens the blow. It definitely
lessens the blow of it. Yeah.
It's at least something for these people who actually signed on and stuck with that system for as long as they did. It's just, man, what a giant mistake that thing was. So yeah, that's two that we've been following for a while that are dead now. Babylon's Fall and Stadia. End of an era.
That's literally what Kayla said when I sent her the message that it was. She's like, "Oh, it's an end of an era."
I mean, I don't think we were covering it in the first few episodes, but I think we've been mainly covering Stadia at least since Stadia's inception on this podcast. It has been around as long as this podcast has, which is crazy to think. That we've covered the entire lifespan of a console at this point. So yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna end it a little bit early because I know your voice is killing you. Let's hit odds and then get done. How about that?
That sounds amazing.
All right.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right. So that brings us to our final segment. This is odds and ends. This is where we catch smaller news stories that don't necessarily deserve a talking point, but we want to riff on them, make you guys aware of them, just talk about them. I have 4. Neil has 3. I'm going to start us off because it's a segue right from the talking point. But some interesting information came out about Kojima and Death Stranding in the last couple of weeks. And basically it was said that Kojima was actually working on a follow-up to Death Stranding 2. It is unclear whether it was going to be a prequel or sequel. This is such a weird thing. They were but Stadia canceled it. Not Kojima. Stadia canceled it. This was long before Stadia was in the tubes, but the reason Stadia canceled it was apparently whatever this game was, the pitch for it had them taking out the player to player interaction. It would be completely solo. So when you're playing Death Stranding, for anybody who hasn't played it, and sadly I can no longer say I'm one of those people, but when you build something in your world, it can show up in other people's worlds to help them, like a bridge or whatever. You can also set up these little signs that say keep going, and if you run through the sign, you'll get your stamina back and stuff like that. It was one of the coolest features of Death Stranding, honestly, and I go see my review, but there was a lot of really cool, innovative stuff in that game. covered in 10 pounds of ego shit. But one of them was this. Apparently, Kojima was pitching a game without that. Completely without that. And Stadia was like, no, we want the good stuff. And turned down Kojima. So yeah, I just found that interesting. So
Well,
anybody out there who wanted to see a follow-up to Death Stranding, that's what happened to it. And it was going to be a Stadia exclusive. Could you imagine what that would have done in the world if that had happened?
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, somebody actually had enough sense to say, no, Kojima, stop it.
That's true. The thing is, as much as I hate Kojima, he has just
Some idea.
Loyal army of psychopaths.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
what kind of boost would that have given the Stadia if Kojima started making exclusive games for Stadia? I don't know. Interesting thoughts.
Well, my first one here is kind of shitty. Skyrim has re-released yet again
What?
on the Switch eShop.
Oh, that's just the Anniversary Collection.
It's the Anniversary Collection,
Yeah.
but do you know how much it costs?
I'm going to say 50.
You'd be wrong because it's $70.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Even if you have the base game?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know as if there's a different pricing structure. The article that I read about this only showed the standard, the regular, the digital one, and an anniversary or a DLC for just the regular one, and then the anniversary version of it.
They didn't even do that shit with the fucking with the release on consoles and PC. If you already had Skyrim, it was like, oh, you only have to pay this much, if you already have it. But
yeah, now
full
like I said,
70
the article
$70 is insane.
The article that I read,
The special edition's only 50, for fuck's sake.
Right. That's the thing, is the article that I read did not go into that, so it is entirely possible that you can, if you already own the full version of it, pay to upgrade it.
Still, that's crazy.
The fact that we are paying over original pricing when the game launched for a game that is 10 years old and is available on 12 platforms now.
Yeah.
What's
insane too about that is you can get the special edition on Switch for $50, and the special edition covers all the DLCs, guys, all the developmental stuff. They are literally charging this premium cost for you to get that, but mod stuff. It's all mod stuff. It's good mod stuff, but it's mod stuff. Player created stuff. That's insane for it to be 70. That's kind of a travesty right there. That's kind of a travesty.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah. Well, speaking of travesties, Red Dead Online released another update, which was all clothing and bullshit. However, this one, for some reason, broke the game inexplicably. There are now tons of bugs and issues in it, just riddling it. There's a guy who does a lot of Red Dead content named Hazard on YouTube, and all his recent videos have been how to get around this bug, how to not take this bug, how to deal with this, and they're crazy bugs. They're bugs if you try and fast travel, and it's not the first thing you do in the game, your character dies. If you go to this other place after this, you get teleported into a waterfall. If you go to this place after this, you lose all your money. Nut job stuff that almost makes you think they're sabotaging it. It's very strange. But yeah, this most recent update has broken the game. So yeah, real fucked up shit.
Yeah, especially for a game that's basically being neglected anyways.
Yeah.
That's a bit ridiculous and also unsurprising at the same exact time.
Well, and of course, the Rockstar people have reached out, and the player base has reached out and been like, hey, it's broken, and Rockstar is just crickets,
Yeah. Well, speaking of ridiculous shit,
Sure.
we'll just find a way to just kind of roll it all into one here. It's a little bit of a different sort of situation here, but it's still shitty. So Tencent is apparently refocusing their acquisition strategy.
Yeah.
They are now going to be pushing to get controlling stakes in other companies, primarily overseas companies, i.e., Western companies.
They already did it with one. Did your article tell you what they'd done it with already?
I didn't get that far into that article.
Okay.
Who did they do it to already?
Ubisoft. They're controlling.
Unsurprising.
They're controlling shareholders of Ubisoft now. Yeah, this is a really interesting thing because, we've been talking about acquisitions being the name of the game. And after the Microsoft acquisition, things kind of slowed down a little bit because the FTC's not happy about this stuff. They're trying to put... There's a whole, underground battle between Microsoft and the FTC right now. And I even said I think that Microsoft would have bought Ubisoft already if the FTC had not come down and hardened them as they did. I mean, I think it's real weird that 6 Ubisoft games dropped into Game Pass 4 or 5 months after the Activision deal, and you're like, I think they're about to be purchased, and then all of a sudden they didn't. I think this is an interesting strategy. I think Tencent, they're an evil fucking corporation. Real evil. They own a lot of games that you don't even realize they own. They do a lot of shovelware on things, but one thing they're very smart business-wise, and I think that they've seen what's happening with the FTC and Activision, and they're like, why would we buy the whole company? We'll just buy all the shares of that company, and then we'll basically own the company without owning the company. It's a workaround for this stuff. And it's real scary because then they can almost have a monopoly without having a monopoly,
Right.
And they make a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen.
Stupid amounts of money.
All right, well, I'll keep us going with the final and biggest piece of shit
Yay.
thing that there is. So, PlayStation, Sony... I don't know what you guys are doing, man, but it has felt like for the last 4 to 5 months they have been on a campaign to make everyone hate them. They've almost been on a company war against their own consumers. It's been very strange, and if you follow this podcast, you know what I'm talking about. But they have just thing after thing that they release is just very anti-consumer. How do we get more money out of them? We don't care about your feelings. So they just released a new PlayStation Plus tier. So you can buy into these tiers in the service. And the highest tier actually has a feature listed. Now, this is mainly in just Japan, just so you guys know. But the highest tier listed actually lists that you will get better customer support than other people. Meaning that if you call the customer helpline and you're this tier, you will get special priority over all other customers. This is fucking insane. This is Machiavellian shit at this point. What is Sony doing? I feel like they are just on a campaign to make their own consumers hate them. Especially when, and again, I don't love Microsoft or anything they've done in the last year or two. That being said, they look really good to the customer base. And every time the customer base asks them for a feature, they're like, we're working on it. We love you guys, Then you go over to Sony and they're like, no PlayStation for you. It's terrible. I don't know, man.
And if I remember correctly, too, I think there was some part of that too that it also mattered how many games you've purchased, and your platinum trophy count and shit like that. Also plays into it. That is, there's not even words for that. That's absolutely ridiculous. So, you can't even just throw money at the situation and just, be on a higher subscription tier. You have to also buy more physical games.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
well as be good at those games.
They're like
or at least
they're like a gentleman's club of a gaming service. Like it's like a speakeasy. Like it's ridiculous. Like I'll tell you, one way to not get new people to buy your hardware is to tell them that if you haven't been playing them, they don't care. You don't care about them, which is basically what this is. It's like, why would I, if I was going to buy a console tomorrow, why would I ever go out and buy a PlayStation console when PlayStation basically goes out and says, look, if you're just now buying this console, we don't give a shit about you. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I don't know. They make it very. I don't know. It's crazy the way Sony is handling their business, and I feel like they're really running themselves into the ground. This has a critical mass at this point.
It's funny you mentioned Sony because one is about Sony. Well, Sony games rather. Apparently, The Last of Us Part 1 is not the only unnecessary remake that we're getting. Apparently, it's been rumored that Horizon Zero Dawn, the original version, is getting a remake for the PS5. Furthermore, along with those rumors, there are also rumors that there is going to be another new entry in the series on top of the VR one and the ones that are going to continue the main story. That will be a multiplayer focused entry in the series that will allow you to create your own character and do some sort of multiplayer thing, factioned based off of the tribes in the game. I am upset with this.
Why?
Because they're doing that one thing it's like
oversaturation.
It's the one thing that I had mentioned that I was really hoping that they didn't do, and they started to do. We had the first game, the second game got announced, and then there were rumblings of the VR game.
Right.
I was like, man, I really hope they don't just oversaturate with this.
And the series.
With the series as a whole, sure enough, we have that VR, that Call of the Mountain that's going to be coming out. We have this here, these two separate things here that are potentially real. We have the show that's going to be coming out.
And there's another spin-off game, isn't there?
I don't even know at this point. Guerrilla did this thing because they were just Killzone for the longest time.
Yep.
It's all they did was Killzone. And they were like, man, we really want to branch out into something different. And they did. They took a chance. Horizon was great. The sequel was more of a good thing. But they're already falling back into those same trappings of, hey, this is all we do now. And they're going to get burnt out on it. They're going to get burnt out on it. And then they're going to have to jump to something new at some point, or maybe even go back to Killzone. Who the hell knows?
Okay, I have some things to say on this. On one side, as a guy who enjoys a multiplayer cooperative game now and then and loves character creation, I do like the premise of this new spin-off game they announced. I have said repeatedly on record, I probably would have liked the original two the Horizons more if that's what it was. If it was more of a player-focused experience. Because that's just more of a me game. So that being said, that kind of excites me. I'm not going to lie. I would love to create my own character in the Horizon universe, get in there with 3 other people, and just hunt monsters. That would be fucking cool as shit. That being said, I am 100% behind you on oversaturation. Just because this is a good idea, the other ones don't necessarily sound like great ideas. I know we have confirmed a 3rd and a 4th Horizon game, and we've already talked about how the second one ends in a cliffhanger, setting up a 3rd one, so we're just going to keep going with that. And it's setting itself up for franchise fatigue before we've even gotten through the second game. And that's a little rough. Again, a multiplayer experience in the Horizon universe sounds amazing to me, but where do you draw the line? You have so many experiences in it already, and I also want to point out you had a lot of problems putting out that second one. I'm not saying that the second one's bad, but the second one is a lot, from what I understand, more of the first game, basically. Which everybody wanted, and that's good, but it took you a really long time to make it, and you delayed it multiple times and pissed off a lot of your fans. So, how are you then, from what I understand, a one-studio company, going to make 3 other games as well as the next entry into this game? I don't know. That kind of scares me. I'd much rather them tell a cohesive 3-game narrative story, be done with it, and then maybe do like a multiplayer spin-off or something like that, but take their time with each one, than what it seems like they're doing, which it's like, oh, we've got a hit, now let's make 7 games. You don't even have the infrastructure for that. So, I don't know. That's concerning.
Yeah.
And somehow we perfectly segued everything, because on the subject of a monster hunting game, a new monster hunting game got announced with a very fast release date. That's right, Wild Hearts. I want to point that out to everybody, coming out on February 17th. This is the game. They teased this game. They didn't tease the game itself, but they said that the EA Originals, not EA proper, but EA Originals, was working with Koei, which is the Chinese or Japanese.
Koei
I can't remember.
Tecmo.
Yeah, Koei Tecmo. I can't remember if they're Japanese or Chinese, but the Eastern company, Eastern company that makes the Dynasty Warriors series, like all the Mushu games. They have released a trailer. It had some gameplay in it. I urge everybody to go check it out. It looks really interesting, for a game called Wild Hearts, which will be like a monster hunting 3-person co-op game, much like Monster Hunter World. I'm very intrigued by this. The trailer definitely got me a little bit excited, and the fact that they were like, we wanted to set the trailer up right before we released it, which is a strategy I love. So this trailer comes out in October. The game comes out in February. That's 4 months away. Very excited about that. I mean, I will say, I told Phil about it, the Buildmaster General who loves Monster Hunter, and he immediately was like, that's going to get delayed. And he could very well be right in our current area. But if it doesn't, I'm very excited about it, so go check it out. If you're a Monster Hunter fan, I think the monster hunting genre could use some competition in it. I'd love to see some other people's takes on it, and it looks pretty interesting to me. And that is it for odds and ends, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to wrap this show up early because Neil is on death's door, the trooper that he is. So we're going to pause. We're going to be right back with You Know What.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to the end of the show, the shameless self-promotion. That comes with it. Neil, what would you like to promote, sir?
Well, outside of this, we do occasionally do a Halo stream here, but I think we might be changing it up. I really like that idea of You Suck at Parking, by the way. I didn't directly tell you that.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, that one looks like it's going to be
I want to do Stick Fight with you guys. We absolutely have to do Stick Fight at some point together.
Yeah. I saw it. Didn't you guys do that for
Prelude?
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know who's gonna enjoy that episode because it's just the 3 of us screaming at the screen for 19 minutes.
And then outside of that, I do play Chad Rover, sleazy CEO wrestler man on UHW.
He keeps saying sleazy, but he plays him as the most upright good guy that has ever been.
He's sleazy because he'll do anything that he has to do to prove himself because he feels like he has everything in the world.
You gotta try and cheat more with him. You haven't tried to cheat with him, and it's your character.
Well, I think the past few matches were pretty relatively strict, if I remember correctly.
The cage match was not strict, although I will say the cage match got pretty crazy. Yes, check out Neil as Child Rover. his lovely wife, Kayla, myself, Phil Billy, and Jay all play UHW. It is a show that we record. I do edit a bit of it, but it is played with... I'll get it out so that Neil doesn't disappear. My tabletop wrestling game that I created. You can find it at drivethroughrpg.com. It is played with cards. It is a pro wrestling RPG. It's a lot of fun. So we play that. That's weekly. It goes up on Saturdays on the Axiom YouTube channel, but it goes up here on Fridays at this point in time. And we're going to keep doing that for the foreseeable future. We've been working on it. Everybody's having fun with it. Scheduling's a little bit rough sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. I think everybody's enjoying it, which is nice. I don't have anything really special to promote other than that. I got some streams going up here and there, but yeah. Other than that, you can check out everything we have to offer here on the channel. And yeah, man, as long as you guys keep watching, keep listening, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys next time. By the way, can I tell you right before you leave the funniest thing that has happened to me this week on YouTube? What? YouTube content blocked my stream of WWE GM mode.
Why?
On Monday. Oh man, this is great. So, and I've had I did a whole run of it on the lunch stream. I did 10 or 11 streams of it. But this was my second stream of it I was doing Monday night. And it gets content blocked, copyright blocked. And I'm like, okay. So I have copyright mode on, so there's no music in it. So right. But I had put my brother's music on in the background, so I was like, maybe one of those got mistakenly copyright claimed or something. No, my friend. It's so much dumber than that. I go into the copyright claim because YouTube has to tell you how you were copyright claimed, what was copyright claimed, and what. And this is content blocked, by the way. So it's not even like a copyright claim or a copyright strike. This means that my video cannot be viewed until this copyright thing is resolved. So I go in. This is a manual claim, which means that a person that works for WWE somewhere watched this and decided that it was a visual copyright of the best of WWE 2021. Meaning that somebody watched this and thought it was from the DVD of the best of WWE 2021. Which is a real wrestling DVD of real people wrestling. Do you want to know what's even better about this? I mean, first of all, WWE 2K 2022 is probably the best wrestling game on the market right now. Those people don't look like real people. The graphics aren't that good. Okay? So right off the bat, somebody looked at this and thought they were real people, which is insane. But what's even worse is the specific clip that they copyright blocked has a created character in it. It was Johnny Gargano, who's a real wrestler, versus Cliff Keen, who is a completely made-up wrestler that I created from scratch.
The fuck?
So somebody watched this and was like, that's definitely real people and a real match that happened in this specific DVD. I had a hard time disputing it because I couldn't find a category for these people are dumb. It was very hard to figure out which category was the best for they're stupid and they don't know what they're talking about. Right. I finally found one and typed in it and I'm like, this is very clearly not real people in a real wrestling match. This is a video game in which I am okay to stream as per licensing agreements from video games to YouTube. I am also in content creator mode, so none of the music used was under copyright. This is very clearly created wrestlers in a wrestling video game, not taken from any DVD. How fucking crazy is that?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you about that. I almost forgot.